Good evening. Welcome to our weekend special coverage of the Stop the Steal March for Trump rallies across the nation. Hundreds of thousands of people came from all 50 states to attend today's march in the Capitol. And they all came to support President Trump through the lawsuits and allegations of election fraud and call for transparency and election integrity. President Trump said in a tweet Friday that he might pop by today's march in D.C. and say hello. He said it was heartwarming to see all of the support coming in from around the country. And this morning, he made good on his word and paid the early bird supporters a visit. The Stop the Steal grassroots movement was first started after the election results came out to call for election integrity, after counting irregularities and allegations of election fraud emerged. Last weekend, there were rallies in every state across the U.S., and today many of them came together to make their voices heard on the doorstep of the Supreme Court. NTD had multiple reporters on the ground at the march today, talking with supporters of President Trump as they called for a free and fair election. NTD is committed to bringing our audience accurate, uncensored coverage, especially at a time when some events and perspectives are being misrepresented by big tech and the media. Now, let's hear from our reporters who were there at the March for Trump.
I think it's fraud. There's a lot of fraud. That's what I heard. And then I heard that there's mail-in fraud happening in Pennsylvania as well. And I'd like the truth to come out, and I'd like the election to be fair.
I see. And what are your concerns whether Trump or Biden win the election?
Deeply concerned. I would prefer Trump to stay in office. I came from a communist country. I escaped from Vietnam to be here to have my freedom to practice my faith and also to be fully human. And if communists take over our country, where would I go?
I'm here because I'm very upset with our country, but I'm very happy to see a lot of people questioning it.
We are now marching towards the Supreme Court. You can actually see the U.S. Capitol right here ahead of us, and there's going to be a further rally at the Supreme Court. And the organizers of this said the reason they are marching from Freedom Square to the Supreme Court is because they believe that this election will ultimately be decided in the Supreme Court. So why do you support President Trump today?
Well, you know, it's funny. I have this here because I teach at a college in Philadelphia, and the Marxist language in the curriculum is so disgusting to me. It's so prejudicial. It's so presumptive. I actually have this. It's okay. I actually have this here because I partially my identity because it gets on Facebook. So, but anyway, I support him because he's courageous. He calls a spade, and the leftist culture that's getting into the academy is just disgusting, and that's why I have this.
I've never really was so much a Trump fan. I'm a fan of stopping the corruption, of stopping the elite running our country, of selling us off. We can sit here and talk about what Trump's accomplished over the last 4 years, but what this election is about the fraud, is about the Democrats, about the left's taking this election from the people. That's what this is about.
Why I do support, because he's pro-life, he's pro-family, and we are Christians, so we are in favor of everything. It's in the will of God. So Biden is against everything God's will.
We support the president. We want to see a fair election. We want to make sure all legal votes count and all illegal votes are removed.
I think they're stepping out of line. It's not their decision, it's our decision, and the courts are the ones who decide when they count the votes and they certify it.
Look at this dog. Trump supporting dog.
We were out there in Arizona watching the vote at Maricopa County and saw that go down in very mysterious and weird ways. Look, I just want this isn't over. It's not even close to being over. And those people that are telling you right now that it is over are lying to you. The vote has not been declared. There is no president-elect.
My mission is to let the country, and especially the Supreme Court and those involved in court decisions, know that we have not given up on the fact that there's irregularities in voting and they're being exposed.
We have no control of our own destiny anymore, and so if there's big corruption by Biden and all the media, when I say all, I mean literally all, ABC, NBC, CBS.
I love your channel. I watch you guys on YouTube. You guys have real news. Thank you for being here.
The epic time.
Epic times.
this guy. We see you on YouTube all the time.
There it is. We got fans. We got fans.
Every time. I love this guy.
And now we'll hear from other supporters of President Trump that our reporters spoke with, who spoke about why they decided to come out today, what they think about voter fraud allegations, and what they have to say about the bias of mainstream media.
To support the president, so just here to support the president like I always do. Yeah, the media has been doing very bad for the president right now. It's been horrible. You know, but all we're doing is responding new news agencies like NTD, Epoch, you know, Newsmax, OAN. So we're getting rid of the garbage even from the media too. So people are leaving Fox, people are leaving. I've already left CNN and other news agencies. So we just create new ones. It's fine.
I thought Joe Biden was going to fool me and say Donald Trump is racist. Well, guess what? Well, he's not racist. And you know another thing? In my city, I've collected over 1,500 signatures that said they commit themselves to vote for Donald Trump. 1,500 blacks. And that's big because they keep saying he's racist. Well, all of the Hollywood black rape artists and all the singers, they loved Donald Trump when he was just a regular Donald Trump. They loved him. But when he became in high places, because God put people in high places, it's nothing but the devil. Hollywood is no longer Hollywood.
Well, for one, we want to just have a fair election, make sure all the real votes count, and we're just tired of the corruption. That's why we're here as an American. We feel it's our duty to step up for President Trump like he has stepped up for the American people. I mean, why would they, if it was all fair, why would they hide the counting? That's our biggest concern, is why hide? If you're honest, you shouldn't hide anything.
And after his appearance at the march earlier in the day, President Trump acknowledged all of his supporters calling for election integrity. Trump retweeted a video showing a sea of red, white, and blue marching outside the U.S. Supreme Court. In the tweet, he said, "Hundreds of thousands of people showing their support in D.C. They will not stand for a rigged and corrupt election." An organizer of the march says they plan to hold events every Saturday at noon in every state capital until the Electoral College makes a decision on who will become the next president. And although it was mostly a peaceful event, counter-protesters did attack one Trump supporter at the march in Washington, D.C. today. An independent reporter wrote in a Twitter post, one of the Trump supporters was just assaulted by a man in black bloc at a counter-protest march. D.C. police immediately came in. In the clip, you can see a man with blood on his face trying to stand up but falling on the ground. Several police officers surrounded him. This was the first report of violence. A Reuters reporter said in a tweet that paramedics treated him and his back on his feet. It's unknown who the attacker is or which group they belong to. However, it's reported that Black Lives Matter and Antifa protesters were also at the march protesting in opposition. And in Georgia, people have been gathering outside the state capitol since this morning to protest voter fraud. Many of them told NTD they would accept it if Biden was the legal victor, but they don't believe the election process was secure. NTD's Melina Weiskup brings us more from Atlanta.
Enthusiasm is super high here at the Georgia State Capitol in Atlanta. These supporters out here are really enthusiastic. So every time a car passes by that has any Stop the Steal or Trump supporting slogans, this crowd is just chanting along with them. As you can see, they're lined up and down the sidewalks here. And this crowd just grew really, really fast. The organizer told us that she's expecting a couple of hundred people to show up. So this is just a fraction of what's expected today. Just a little background on what's going on in Georgia. The state's in the middle of a recount right now, so they're by hand recounting every single ballot. But some of these people tell us they're a little concerned about that process because there's been a social media video that's been circulating showing that some of the poll watchers have been pushed back so far from the ballot counting process, there's no way they can actually verify that those ballots being counted are in fact legal. The organizer told us that that's actually what she's most concerned about because she says if there's no audit process, the recount is essentially useless.
Or if we're going to recount the votes, then it needs to be done in such a way that when it's over, we all have confidence. And I think, I won't speak for everyone, but for myself, if that's done in a way that I feel confident that the result is a true reflection of how America voted, and Biden does become the victor, then I'm willing to accept that. I'm not out here. It's about the process. I'm standing up for the process.
It's not just that we're out here voicing our opinions for us. We're out here voicing our opinions for all Americans, because Americans deserve a free and fair election.
So I brought this flag today because this is the flag that goes on our son's grave, Zane McDonald. He fought in the Army in Iraq for a year in the Army. And so I'm here today, not just to, hope that there's a resolution to the voting issue and that we get the right person in the White House, but for the veterans who fought, died, bled, gave their lives long before my son did, for the ability and the right and the privilege to vote, because it is a privilege. And if it's being abused or done illegally, the integrity of that vote loses its importance. And to me, that means my son's life didn't matter. And the other millions of people who fought for that right to vote, their lives must not matter either.
And out here, there has been some tension going on. There was a man back behind me in this area that was trying to attack some of the Trump supporters here, but we have policemen out here that quickly quelled that situation. So, but that small bit of tension that's coming, that's nothing. That is not stopping these attendees out here. They are super determined to come out and show the country that they will not stand for any election fraud. So that's what's going on here in Atlanta. Back to you, New York.
Thanks, Melina. And in Delaware, people gathered at the capital city, Dover, to protest voter fraud. One immigrant from Hong Kong told us her husband witnessed election fraud back in 2016. She says a computer system automatically changed his vote from the Republican candidate to the Democratic candidate.
Actually, it didn't happen in this election, but it did happen in the other election when my husband was voting and the vote switched in front of his face before he hit the vote button. The votes were switched. He was voting for one candidate and it switched over to the other, right in front of his eyes.
When was it?
Oh, that was in the I think that was 2016 election for president, for him and when Hillary Clinton and President Trump were running. And he pressed it for Donald J. Trump and it switched over to Hillary Clinton. But luckily he was able to catch it in time and he pressed it back and then pressed the vote button. But they switched his choices from Republican to Democrat right before his eyes. And if they're allowed to get away with it, they will fraud all elections. And that's not just in Delaware, but also nationwide. We will never have a fair and clean and honest election ever again. And I don't want to see that happen. My family came from China. They came from Hong Kong. Although Hong Kong wasn't oppressed at the time, this was in the 60s. And it wasn't, they came here because my father wanted us to have more opportunities than what Hong Kong would have to offer. And he came here with my mother and all four of his children, so we would have that opportunity and we would have that freedom and we'd have that liberty. And my father, more than anything, said he wanted his children to be American. And so now we are American. And he got his wish, God bless him. And I think that he would approve of what I'm doing. I think that he wanted us to enjoy freedom because he knew what would happen once Hong Kong became Chinese. Once the Treaty of Nanking was over, he knew what was going to happen and he didn't want us to live like that. But unfortunately right now, if they can steal the vote, we will be living like that, and that has to stop.
Crowds gathered in Jefferson City, Missouri today in support of President Trump. That's where another Stop the Steal rally was held to call for a fair election. We spoke with Missouri's Secretary of State and the state's senator for their take.
Hundreds of people showed up to Saturday's Stop the Steal rally in Jefferson City, Missouri. Missouri's Secretary of State, Jay Ashcroft, who attended the rally, says he acknowledges there are concerns over the validity of the election results.
We're still moving through the process in states to certify those results. There will be litigation. It's not like...
He says the state will take a more in-depth look into its voting results.
But right now, with the margins that we have, I feel confident that any fraud did not affect the winners and losers in our races.
In some Missouri counties, the controversial Dominion voting software was used. It has been found to have changed votes in some states.
So one of the things that we will do as we certify our results, which has not happened yet, we will go back and make sure that sort of thing did not occur with our results in Missouri.
According to him, more transparency is needed this election, adding that the more, the better. State Senator of Missouri's 18th District, Cindy O'Loughlin, also attended the rally. She's explained that she came to show support for President Trump.
There's too many irregularities for us to accept that he didn't win. However, we'll wait for the result of the legal challenges, but we really appreciate...
She asserted that media outlets don't decide the election.
We feel that people have legitimate opinions that they should be able to express, and we're very opposed to the Facebook and Google and all of the different media that are trying to say, hey, it's our way or no, there's no other way. We don't agree with that.
Adding that in her opinion, fraud did occur.
The numbers just don't support the probability that in the middle of the night as many as 100,000 people came in and voted purely for Joe Biden. I mean, we find that suspect.
She expresses a wish to thank those that came out to the rally, saying many traveled a long way to attend.
At Lansing, Michigan's Stop the Steal rally, demonstrators told us they were disappointed with the mainstream legacy media. NTD's Vivian Lafarge has more from there.
Trump supporters in Lansing, Michigan told us they're fed up with the legacy media.
I'm so disappointed. I'm so disappointed. I feel that they just tell us what they want us to know. Everything's, fraud related. No, there's no sign of it whatsoever, but no one's saying, well, there could possibly. It's just extremely one-sided.
They're like borderline treasonous. They're like putting out dangerous stuff to the public, which like causes like friction, kind of like tension, and it kind of like divides the country.
The mainstream news media is hiding everything. They're protecting everything. They're part of the problem, and they need to be. We like watching Newsmax. As we switch to Newsmax, and we're turning off the media. If you don't watch ABC, NBC, CNN, ABC, or CBS, they don't make any money. So don't watch or buy products that they sell on the news.
And you know what? Nobody wants to watch their communist propaganda anymore. They have an agenda. We don't care to listen to their propaganda. It's propaganda and it's their narrative. It's not news anymore. It's their narrative.
They've always been a little dishonest, mostly in framing of the use of language. And they're constantly using weasel words like some people and stuff like that, and there's all kinds of different ways that they're linguistically dishonest.
Republican state senators have asked the state secretary for an election audit before the results are formally recognized, or in other words, certified. Reporting by Vivian Lafarge, Lansing.
And people also came out to rally in Austin, Texas. Let's hear what some of them had to say.
Texans from all walks of life have gathered here on the steps of the Capitol to show their support for fair and free election and to show their support for President Trump.
We're out here today because we believe in the Constitution. We believe that America should be a place for a fair and free election, for truth. Well, honestly, at some point, I just went to bed because we kind of anticipated this would happen, maybe not to this degree, but just waiting for things to settle down. So we were excited though, but also disappointed to see at points and times that states were being called for Biden when he was clearly not in the lead at that point.
Well, I love Trump. I love what he said. He said that socialism is never going to be part of the U.S., and that is a big deal because I can see how there's people in the Congress like AOC and, other congressmen and Schumer, Pelosi, and other people that are trying to push socialism. People don't even understand what socialism is.
Well, I believe we're under subversion, and that to keep America to go with the New World Order, with the Great Reset, that America has to be brought to a socialist state for that to happen. And Trump is not an establishment. He is for the people. He is standing for us, and he is trying to rig corruption, and corruption fights back hard.
Voters should call for Trump, not for the Biden. Another thing is the Democrats, they wake up the dead person, get up to vote. I said, over 100,000 dead person to go to vote. How is the dead people can go to vote? I don't know, no way. That's finished.
Demonstrators also gathered in Springfield, Illinois to support President Trump. Some of them told NTD they're concerned the media is shutting down their voices because of the nature of their concerns.
Voters in Illinois' capital city Springfield waved flags and signs in front of the state capitol building. An Illinois resident told us why he is here today.
I'm concerned with our heritage. I'm concerned with, respect for the flag and good old-fashioned American heritage and American values and morals. And we fight for that today, as we see everybody trying to tear it down. Our heritage, our statues, erase our history, and it's wrong. So I drove 3 hours by myself to stand here. I don't know any of these people, and I stand here proudly just to do my part.
Some other protesters raised concerns of voter fraud.
I have friends that have gotten emails saying that they thank you for their mail-in ballot when they didn't mail in their ballot.
I spoke to a representative by the name of Devin Jones. He's an 18th Ward committeeman in Chicago. I did an interview with him, and he actually told us about how he watched people shoving ballots under jackets, the manipulation of voter cards, that there were machines that were not working, and instead of putting the ballots from those machines into the appropriate containers, they were just being tossed about. People did not know what they were supposed to be doing. They were ill-trained, ill-equipped, and that's just in one section of the city of Chicago. And that's not even somewhere that's being contested. So if that can happen, in just one ward of a city and actually potentially change the scope of the votes because they're not being handled appropriately, I can only imagine what that would do in entire states where people are not being monitored appropriately. It's a serious problem, and it should be addressed.
Ramos said she showed up at the rally despite the forecast warning of bad weather.
The weather is supposed to be a bit iffy. We might see some rain, but my thing with that is that George Washington was at the Delaware River, and it was snowy and it was terrible, and he fought through that and he won a war. So if all we have to do today is deal with a little bit of rain to be able to come out and support our fellow Americans and get our voices heard and fulfill our mission, we're willing to do that.
She said she is concerned that the media is not giving enough voice to those people who are raising concern about potential voter fraud.
I think that it is a tragedy that our voices are trying to be stifled, that the people are being told that we should not express ourselves with our First Amendment right. I think the media has only done more to divide people. I don't think people like you and I have divided each other. I think that the media has taken a huge responsibility in that.
Ramos also expressed her concern over Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez's recent Twitter post. The Democratic Socialist Congresswoman asked, is anyone archiving the Trump supporters? Among those who replied was a former Obama administration official. He wrote in a now-deleted post, yes, we are. He cited the Trump Accountability Project, which tracks every administration staffer, campaign staffer, bondler, lawyer who represented them, everyone.
Any government political party that calls for some sort of recourse against somebody for, as a citizen, performing their legal duty as a citizen and voting, or performing something that is a legal thing like supporting a political candidate or supporting a body of government, that is something that we have a legal right to do. So to say that there's some sort of recourse that should be done against us as a political affiliate, and especially as a congresswoman, she should be held accountable for that.
Reporting by Kara Ding, NTD News.
In Boston, we interviewed several participants, some of whom are immigrants who took part in the marches. Two of them said getting the vote count right isn't just about democracy, it's a battle between freedom and communism.
In Boston, Massachusetts, pro-Trump marchers assembled in front of the State House chanting for 4 more years of the Trump presidency. A Filipino immigrant told us that he came from Texas, calling the election a battle between freedom and communism.
We came from Texas, and we're supposed to be on vacation, but we realized that there is a MAGA support rally, so we have to do our part as patriot Americans, because this might be our last chance. We might have come to a point of no return. And I grew up in the Philippines, and we have witnessed how the atrocities of authoritarian regime destroys the lives of many people. And we cannot allow this beautiful country to be destroyed by the socialist regime. We're here to fight for justice. And we have to make all the votes counted, because we cannot allow fraud to rule in the United States, or there is no freedom.
James McHugh from Hudson says the U.S. election is being subverted.
America is going through a subversive takeover of our country that most of the people do not want to happen. And what should we do about it? Well, this is what we can do about it. We have a warrior in Donald Trump who's fighting for us, and we support him.
A woman told us she's an immigrant from Lithuania and has lived in the U.S. for about 40 years. She says she came to support democracy.
We are here today because we need to have fair elections, because without fair elections, there is no democracy in America. And I came here because of democracy. So I wish everybody would know that democracy is the most important thing.
Protesters also gathered nearby, but from what we saw, the situation stayed peaceful.
And in Florida, hundreds of people came to Ormond Beach this morning to show their support for President Trump. They voiced their concerns about the legitimacy of the election.
There's no way that Joe Biden had so many more votes than Obama. I mean, you don't just stop counting the 6 or 7 states when Trump gets majority of the vote. For them to say, we're stop counting, everybody have a good night, and then they miraculously found 170,000 votes. There's something going on.
I'm supporting Trump right up to the very end.
Were you surprised by the election results the day after?
This is great. Yes, really, I kind of was, but then in a way, Trump had been predicting this, that they were going to steal the election by all these mail-in ballots. So, then after that, I wasn't too surprised.
Are you hopeful that President Trump will eventually win the election?
Yes, I am, and I think he will.
Currently, right now, I think America is very divided. I think social media has a lot to do with it. I think we have a very biased media. Currently, right now, I do think there was some foul play going on with the election that many people are not happy with and do support President Trump. I personally feel that the election in many of the states, I think the votes should be recounted. They should be supervised while they are recounted, just to make sure that the votes that were received from actual true voters that actually live in that area. It's very loud out here right now.
Why did I come here today? Because we have to show our pride and happiness for Donald Trump. We have to be here for him. We all have to come out and support him. We can no longer be silent. We can no longer be heckled by the left and telling us to stay home or just accept it as they're telling us to, just accept the results and win for them. And it's not true, because they did hack the election from Germany. There was servers from Dominion seized in Germany last night. The sources are from a few Republican congressmen. I forget the one dude's name, but it's all over Twitter. The Gateway Pundit reported it, and there's other sites pretty much certifying it right now.
Why are you here today?
I'm here because I believe that the President Trump, the election was stolen from him the night of November 3rd. And I believe that this is our duty to be out here to support President Trump and to let him know that we believe that the election was stolen and we want recourse to happen.
What do you think America is going through?
Oh, I think 72 million people, patriots, are waking up to the realization that we have been disenfranchised, that we are, I think there's just a huge division across America now.
What should we do?
I think that we should allow the investigation of voter fraud. There's so many statistical anomalies that have been researched and shown by MIT scientists, by PhDs, by IT people, independent people that are doing this on their own dime, and we should investigate the fraud.
And Trump supporters have been holding Stop the Steal rallies in front of the state capitol in Phoenix and the Maricopa County Election Office since Election Day. Our reporter on the ground there interviewed the rally organizer. She shared her outlook on this year's election.
The Stop the Steal is to let everyone know that they have a voice, and our voices will not be silenced, and our votes will be counted. And we are not going to tolerate a voting system that has disenfranchised all the conservative votes. We also believe that there has been fraud in this election, and we want a full accounting, whether it's audits, whether it's a new election. We need to have a full accounting of all the votes, and to make sure that these voting machines were not tampered with, or did not have specific software that disenfranchised conservative voices. Let the courts adjudicate. Let them do their jobs. He has every right as a sitting president to contest this election. That is his right. Now let's let the courts do their job. And we do not want to become a socialist or communist country, and we will fight it to the death. We do not want that. I just support the people coming out, voicing their concerns, voicing having their voices and their votes heard, that we do not let this go down and just let our country just go socialist. We have to fight this. We have to fight for an honest election. Everybody has a vote and everybody has a voice. And when you silence half of those voices, that is not a true election. The media does not decide who the president is. We have a system that decides who the president is. Okay? All the states have not declared who their votes are going toward. Let the system play out. Let the court systems play out. Let the lawsuits play out, which are all justified, and we'll go from there. I have been a Democrat, I have been an independent, and I have been a Republican in my lifetime. And I have, in all of those agendas, I have never seen the love and support for any particular president ever, even Reagan, in my lifetime. And that I truly hope that our country can get back on the path of fairness and equality, and how we treat our citizens and our presidents.
And now we turn to Pennsylvania, where the battle for presidency is particularly contested right now. In Harrisburg, voters came out to voice their concerns.
It seems like communism is spreading in America faster than this virus is, so it's kind of a play on words to stop this spread. We've seen a lot of other nations fall to the tyranny of communism, like Russia and China, other Southeast Asian countries, Central American countries, even Venezuela, that we have to realize we cannot let that happen here in America, because our fall will be much worse than all those other countries. And as goes this nation, so goes the world.
I'm here because I have children, and I believe that we need to stand up to or for this country. This is the birthplace of our democracy.
I'm here because I'm very alarmed at the fraud that I detected. I analyzed the data in Pennsylvania. There's 67 counties in Pennsylvania. 57 of them had a huge turnout, Republican turnout of registered voters. In fact, the numbers came out over 100%. Some of the counties were 150%, which really means that a lot of Democrats crossed over and voted for Trump. Okay, and then there was a few counties, specifically Chester, Montgomery, and Delaware counties, that had essentially 95 to 100% turnout of Democratic registered voters.
The race is still tight in Pennsylvania. Joe Biden is leading with 49.89%, and President Trump is at 48.96%. Meanwhile, another whistleblower has emerged alleging that the USPS is not playing fair with political mail. NTD's Juliette Song reports.
Another whistleblower has come forward, and this time the claim is about giving both camps different treatment regarding mail. Speaking to Project Veritas, an investigative journalism nonprofit, the letter carrier claims a local postal supervisor in Elkins Park, Pennsylvania, gave an unusual order on November 9th.
We were told that the only political mail that will be delivered from now on will be that of the winner, in this case, Joe Biden.
The letter carrier alleged the order was to treat political mail for Biden as first class, meaning postal workers should try to redeliver it if the receiver is not at home or has moved. But Trump or Republican mail wouldn't get the same treatment. Their mail would be put in undeliverable bulk mail bins.
Undeliverable bulk business mail is essentially it's a step away from the garbage.
Political mail is not mail-in ballots. It's a way for presidential candidates and their campaigns to reach out to residents. NTD can't independently verify the whistleblower's account. The source claimed the supervisor is Walter Lee, who supervises customer services at the Elkins Park USPS office. The postal office confirmed his position but declined to provide further information. Project Veritas also reported about other USPS whistleblowers who alleged their local post offices postmarked late ballots so they'd be accepted. USPS has to process a record number of ballots this year, at least over 100 million. Project Veritas' communications director said the whistleblowers' accounts are raising concerns, given the amount of ballots they have to process this year.
Our concern is not who wins the election. Our concern is that mail from one side is being treated differently than mail from the other side.
USPS didn't return our request for comment before airtime. With 20 electoral votes, Pennsylvania is a battleground for a hotly contested race. The Trump campaign has filed lawsuits there alleging voter fraud. The state governor denies the claim, citing partisan attack. McCabe says with the election still in play, campaigns would want to be able to reach out to supporters and non-supporters.
The integrity of the post office and our postal system has a direct bearing on the integrity of our election. If we are supposed to trust an election, we have to be able to trust the post office.
The whistleblower claimed about 30 workers also heard the supervisor's claim and would be willing to testify under oath if required. Reporting by Juliette Song, NTD News.
And that's all for today's news. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Stephanie Cox.